All right, so I have two articles for you today. And one of the articles really deals with a issue that doesn't get nearly enough attention. So, you may or may not be aware that we are bailing out Argentina. So, the people who've been crying that poverty somehow became a thing only after we started giving money to Ukraine to defend itself. You should be more concerned about this. Of course, this is the same administration that was like, oh yeah, we actually have emergency funds for SNAP, but we're not going to use them. I mean, seriously, how much crap does this administration have to foist onto the public before people realize? I mean, a lot of people who voted for Trump do now realize that they done fucked up, but not enough. There are still people who are defending him. Now, but like I said, this issue is not getting enough attention. Right now, it's all about the Epstein files, which is admittedly a major issue as well. There is seriously only major issues with this administration. There is no meh. Anyway, so we initially said we were going to give a $20 billion bailout to Argentina, which there's really no good way to spin this. But basically, Argentina's economy is in the shitter. And so, since there were buddies of Trump that invested in Argentina and in their currency, which is now almost worthless, they want to get their money back. So, Trump is using the U.S. Treasury as his own fucking piggy bank. But anyway, let's get to the article. This is from the Buenos Aires Times because none of the stateside publications, they're all behind a paywall. So Buenos Aires Times it is. Okay. Argentina's $870 million boost of IMF holdings points to U.S. aid. Argentina's holdings at the International Monetary Fund jumped last month by the same amount that the U.S. government's assets declined, as data from the lender could indicate a new form of U.S. financial aid to President Javier Milei's government. And yes, I know it's Milei, but Milei sounds a lot better considering what kind of a person he is. Anyway, in October, Argentina's special drawing rights, the IMF's reserve asset, increased by 640.8 million Argentinian currency. I don't know what SDRs are, so I don't know what the Argentinian currency is. Rubles? No, that doesn't sound right. So, which is 870 million US dollars. While U.S. holdings fell by the same amount compared to September, according to data published on the IMF's website, on November 1st, Argentina also made interest payments to the IMF totaling about 620 million SDRs, which stems from the nation's own debts with the lender in Washington. And I really, really hope nobody took the rubles thing seriously. That was intended as a joke. Press offices for the U.S. Treasury Department, IMF, and Argentina's Economy Ministry didn't respond to requests for comment, while Argentina's central bank declined to comment. The SDRs are assets created by the IMF that are distributed to countries in proportion to their quota. Countries at the IMF can change their SDR holdings to other nations if asked. To be sure, the IMF data doesn't confirm Argentina's SDR holdings increased because it drew down on the swap line with the US, and it's unclear if it's used the swap for other purposes so far. However, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent acknowledged on MSNBC Tuesday that Milei's government had tapped a small amount of the swap line that the two nations signed last month. The Treasury Department has not released any public details about the terms of the agreement and has not responded to repeated requests for comment on the aid program since Argentina's central bank announced it on October 20th. Bessent provided Milei, a top U.S. ally in Latin America, with a sweeping rescue package as the Libertarian leader faced a market sell-off before his party won midterm elections in late October and turned around investors' sentiment. Which, the U.S. is so hung up on election interference, unless it's, election interference they want. Meaning Trump. But it's okay for us to interfere. But then again, it's our interference that put Argentina in the hellhole it is. So, anyway, where was I? Beyond the U.S. $20 billion swap, Treasury also bought Argentine pesos and started talks with Wall Street banks to line up more financing for Argentina. Okay, so that is the end of that article. So yeah, it's we went from 20 billion to 800. It's like, wait, what? Why? And the answer is to save the billionaires, because as we all know, we've got to do whatever we can to make sure billionaires don't lose money. Anyway, that is the end of that. So let's go to, and now this, I'm sorry, but if this doesn't show you that ICE is being run by a bunch of fucking racists who don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, if this doesn't explain it to you, I don't know what will. All right, this is from the New Republic. ICE almost deports Native American woman. Because obviously all brown people are the same. What the hell? I never understood why Indians were called red. Never understood that. Of course, I never understood why Asians were called yellow either, so whatever. Okay. The Trump administration tried to deport a Native American woman. Leticia Jacobo, a 24-year-old member of the Arizona Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community, was booked into the Polk County Jail in Des Moines, Iowa, in September for allegedly driving on a suspended license. She was supposed to be released on November 11th, but was issued a random ICE detainer that day, which forced her to stay in place for 48 hours while Immigration and Customs Enforcement prepared to deport her. I would love to know where they were going to deport her to, because, I'm sorry, what? How do you deport someone to a country when they've been here longer than white people? Seriously, where were you planning on deporting her? My sister said, how is she going to get deported if she's a Native American? And we have proof. Jacobo's sister, Maria Nunez, told the Arizona Mirror. They said, well, we don't know because we're not immigration and we can't answer those questions. Okay, so you're partnering with them enough to bring them in, but you're not going to, you know, give them the message? We're just holding her for them. So when they pick her up tonight, they're going to go ahead and deport her to wherever they're going to take her. But we have no information on that. Or how about, oh, she's Native American? Obviously there's a mistake, so when they get here, we'll say something. Or we'll call them right now. Or literally anything. Seriously, you're partnering with them enough to detain people, but you're not partnering enough with them to give a shit what happens to the people that were flagged for deportation. Nothing gives you the warm fuzzies about law enforcement than them being like, I mean, ICE wants to deport her. We don't know. We don't give a shit. They said it. We're going to let her do it. What? Oh my God. Jacobo's family scrambled to prove that she was unjustly detained, posting on Facebook, contacting tribal leaders, and even bringing her birth certificate to the jail. Her social security number was also on file. Polk County Sheriff Office spokesman Lieutenant Mark Chance eventually admitted that the jail had made a massive mistake and the detainer was meant for someone else. Okay, now, considering the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, where it started with, oh, it was a clerical error, he shouldn't have been sent to CCOT. Oh, but he's actually Tren de Aragua. Or was it MS-13? I really don't know at this point. I can't remember. This administration was throwing both of them around like they're the same fucking gang or something. Anyway. So, they just desperately needed to justify what they did to this man. So, when they say, oh, it was a clerical error, we made a mistake, I don't believe them. I don't believe them one minute. I mean, they probably also had someone else there. But I'm pretty sure that whomever arrested her doesn't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They just saw the last name Jacobo, probably, and just assumed that she must be Hispanic. And let's face it, we all know all Hispanics are illegal. I mean, whoever thought of a Hispanic being native born or, coming to this country the right way? Whoever thought of that? It was human error, but I'm sure as soon as the command staff find out about it, they're going to have some meetings with their superiors internally and be like, hey guys, we gotta keep our thumb on this. This is silly, he said. Okay. I will agree it was human error because someone doesn't know the difference between an American Indian and a Hispanic. I mean, I don't know, like I said, it could be laziness, but, dude, so I do not believe for one, I mean, it's possible that they had somebody else there, but I'm pretty sure that this was all a case of they're racist. They do not give a shit whether this woman was actually a Native American. And they were just trying to meet the quota that Stephen Miller set out for them. All right. And I just love it how, they're going to have their meetings with superiors. And do what? Have a meeting teaching people the difference between someone who's Hispanic and someone who's Native? I honestly do not think that these people give a shit about that. I mean, they actually have stated that, Christy Nome has stated that it's not profiling to question someone who's brown or who speaks Spanish or who hangs out at Home Depot, like migrants tend to do because they're looking for work. I mean, of course they're not going to be like, how do we teach these people to differentiate between someone who's a Native American and someone who is Hispanic? Because let's face it, that's as far as it would go. Anyway, silly is putting it mildly. Nearly deporting a woman with more right to be in this country than most is a product of the racial profiling inherent in President Trump's immigration crackdown. ICE has previously stated that ethnicity can be a factor supporting reasonable suspicion in appropriate circumstances, and that officers might reasonably rely on the fact that someone else speaks Spanish to support reasonable suspicion that the person is here illegally. Okay, seriously, speaking Spanish, that's all that it takes? Okay, there is a cast member on SNL. Brown hair, looks white, but he's Latino. And I'm under the impression he does speak Spanish. Would that be enough? I mean, seriously, this is stupid. I wouldn't even call it silly. It's stupid. Just because someone looks a certain way and speaks Spanish, which this woman is from Arizona. Probably a good number of people who aren't fucking racist anyway speak Spanish. Hell, George W. Bush spoke Spanish. Jeb Bush speaks Spanish. There is nothing wrong. There's nothing inherent about them that speaking Spanish would tell you anything about. Okay, that actually shows a modicum of intelligence because learning a new language is hard. So outside of that, okay, there are white people who speak Spanish. There are black people who speak Spanish. And it doesn't have to be because they're Hispanic. They just happen to learn the language because they live in an area where there's a lot of Hispanics. So, they want to do something unusual, like be able to express themselves in a way that would be familiar to those who either have a hard time learning English or just feel more comfortable listening to information in their native tongue. Anyway, back in January, during Trump's first week in office, the Navajo Nation announced that ICE has harassed at least 15 Indigenous Americans at their homes and workplaces simply because they looked Latino. That strategy and the cruel processes it produces has only persisted since. Okay, that is the end of that article. Now, first off, not knowing the difference. I mean, granted, I have met some natives that when they told me that they were, I'm like, oh, really? You looked very white. Because, not everybody is 100% native. There could be a mixture in there somewhere. Because there's very few people who are pure blood. It's just the way it is. But, that's why you don't profile. I remember when I was living in Chicago Heights and the 9/11 happened. And we had this East Indian, and I mean, she was native to India. So I'm not just saying ethnically. She was from East India. I mean, yeah, she's East Indian. She was from India. She, because of her skin tone, because she's brown, a bunch of us were worried about her, walking down the street because, let's face it, Islamophobia became a thing because all Muslims are terrorists and all brown people are Muslim, and it was just stupid because racists had to take shortcuts in their racism. So, yeah, this is something that's been happening for a while. People decide that instead of learning shit, let's just take a quick glance at someone and decide we know everything about them. Like their ethnicity, for that matter. So, yeah. Yeah, this is a scary, scary development, which anybody who actually thought about it for more than 2 seconds and aren't racist would have saw coming. This is not something that is a shock to those of us who realized what racial profiling will lead to. Because you can't just assume shit based on skin color. You can't assume shit based on the fact that they speak Spanish. I mean, I remember learning that Greg Lougain is not Hispanic, but that he was adopted. That I knew. And that he's black. Which it never occurred to me. I mean, the man was a diver, so you just think that he's got a tan. Never occurred to me that he was considered black. Or was it brown? I can't remember now. I can't remember where he was adopted from. But the point is that he's American. It's possible he knows Spanish. I don't know. I don't know if he speaks any language outside of English. I don't know. But by this criteria, he could have been detained, even though he was adopted by, I believe, a white couple. Okay? So, how is he the bad guy here? It's just so stupid. So very, very stupid, this whole thing. Anyway, let's see if there's anything else. Okay, no, I believe that is all I have for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.